My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft.
All right, first of all, this is monitoring. The entity is amplifying loud, thunderous, roaring noises, which is not even anything that's going to happen with plane activity. It's just noise in the environment, where this is a state actor, because it's a City of Ontario employee who is monitoring. So that's the relevance of the thunderous noise that's occurring. While, again, the moment that I wake up, and this is monitoring conduct because I'm moving, and the entity does so even through the means of what is harassment. So the moment that I wake up, and I'm waking up at 415 North Euclid, this is the address where I'm located, and this is on the sidewalk where I am waking up on the bench. And this is the City of Ontario. Well, at least this is what they're representing themselves as. They're driving a white pickup truck with the license plate that I documented. The license plate is, because this is documentation of harassment by the entity that's monitoring. License 70620B1, wearing a City of Ontario vest. This is a heavyweight Latino male wearing glasses, and also engaged in what is harassment and telling me, trying to exercise authority over me, telling me that I need to get up. Where they're concerned with what is, when you're sleeping on City of Ontario property, for example, like they do have the monuments in the middle of the street, for example, or if you're sleeping on like the grounds of the of some sort of City of Ontario property, where they've used, for example, they've used being on the grounds of the city of Ontario as a means to harass as well. None of this is, it's all going to be a basis for a prosecution because the entity's been engaged in monitoring. The entity's engaged in what is targeting, resulting in what is things such as sleeping outside, and then they're targeting you while you're sleeping outside, which is what was the purpose of them targeting you in the first place, to then commit kidnapping, which is precipitated from criminal summoning. So it's all going to be a basis of a prosecution. But nonetheless, I want to get to, this is the city of Ontario. This is somebody that's coming up and harassing me as I'm already getting up, minding my business. This is somebody that's just starting a conversation, even harassment, as a means of monitoring me. That's the purpose. And the entity just has like noise just coming out of nowhere. It's not a vehicle roaring. It's not planes, because you're not going to hear planes coming from the airport. The entity is engaged in demonic conduct. The entity is just maintaining loud noise in the environment while this demon in a white pickup truck representing City of Ontario is telling me that I have to get up, and I'm asking him why. If I'm sleeping on a bus bench, also the City of Ontario is not, you're not going to, you're going to call the police if I'm sleeping on the bus bench as well. And so anyway, I'm just telling this demon, go ahead and call the police or whatever. He's just harassing me. And I want to document this. This is the entity that is monitoring and using harassment as a means of monitoring, and doing so where the fake sun is rising. He's doing so the moment that I get up from sleeping, because this is a means of making sure that activity is being maintained. And I want to document, I did get the license plate, and he's doing so at what is 6:32 a.m. Doing so right before the fake sun rises, which is what it's doing right now, 6:39 a.m. This is a demon that is engaged in what is some uncharacteristically passionate about what he's talking about also, when he does not have actual legitimate concern, and under all circumstances it's monitoring. So you're gang stalking as the City of Ontario. This is again the criminal conduct of Paul Leon, all of his employees, all of the municipality employees, everybody working with and for the City of Ontario is engaged in monitoring, from the demons engaged in potting, cleaning the buildings, to the demons that are emptying the garbage. They're all engaged in criminal monitoring. The City of Ontario is entirely corrupt. They're engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. And this demon is engaged in monitoring with regard to maintaining activity, and is desperate enough to do so via harassment. And doing so also on a basis that is entirely illegitimate. This is, again, the entity, when you're on the sidewalk, why are you bothering me? This is what Hazelwood, well, even though that's different, you're talking about, first of all, the illusion of them having authority. They're all engaged in criminal activity, but the illusion of them having authority, this is what Hazelwood and Owens is talking about when I'm on the sidewalk, and then they're stating while I'm on the sidewalk, which is public property, that the property owners called them at 3 in the morning, and they're lying about that, and on top of that, I'm on the sidewalk. And then you're talking about what is being on the sidewalk now, and this is not the police, but understand, you're talking to the state, so you are effectively talking to the same entity. They don't have to call the police are already monitoring. The entity that engages in criminal summoning, this is the illusion, we called the police and you're on private property, and none of it's private property. You don't have to call the police are gang stalking with you. You're monitoring and you're all engaged in sharing. You're talking to the same entity. That corrupt system is what is engaging, what is monitoring me the moment that I wake up, and I was already getting up and going, which these are demons that are monitoring, so you know that. So you're pulling up, the reality is that this is a demon. He's pulling up in front of me and telling me that I have to go, which I don't have to listen to you. Go ahead and call the police. I'm sitting on the bench, but this is a means of harassment, and I want to make sure that I document that. This is relevant to the prosecution of the entity that's engaged in what is harassing you through every person. Then you've got these demons that are stalking across the street, parked in the parking lot directly in alignment to me, and stalking in the path, in other words, stalking in the path, standing across the street as well. They're all monitoring to this conversation. Again, monitoring is underway by the demons that are stalking in traffic. Right? The entity is monitoring overnight. The entity is stalking by helicopter. Okay, doing so with regard to any means. And this is the entity that the Ontario Police Department has no interest in actually having a defense in federal court. The state that's already prosecuted has clearly already resigned with regard to trying to appear as though the targeted individual is some crazy person, and that they've made it up, because the entity has provided evidence of factual evidence that I have, which I had for years. In 2025, you're almost at 200 videos since they engaged in kidnapping on May 29, 2025. Nobody is nobody, and that's again with regard to the thousands of videos that I already had of this entity targeting through corrupt law enforcement agencies. So I'm just stating the level of evidence is ridiculous, and the entity has already given up and conceded that they are targeting and that they are engaged in criminal activity that they are going to be held accountable for, and it includes the consequences that I have already publicly announced. And the entity they've clearly given up in that regard, and this is why you have the Ontario Police openly targeting me every day and every night. That's what they were doing last night, and this is an entity that is in the morning in furtherance of that same criminal effort, harassing me while I'm already getting up, about to pick up my stuff and go about my business. And it's for the purpose of even to harass, it's their maintenance of activity. So I want to document that. This is, again, somebody that gets up and then he's in operation of a communication device, harassing, telling me that a suit for harassment is a joke, that his boss, Paul Leon, who I'm stating, this is who's going to be held accountable for everything that the City of Ontario is engaging in. And he's, again, laughing at that. He's pulling out his cell phone and standing on the sidewalk in front of me. This is harassment. Well, it's federal stalking, but I just want to make sure I put it on the record, everything that this demon is doing in the name of City of Ontario, who is gang stalking and who is gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department. All of it is a threat while you're engaged in criminal activity. He is doing so for no legitimate purpose whatsoever as well, okay? It is currently... And that was the maintenance. That was a desperate means of maintaining activity. Basically, that was the point of that. And I want to document it. It's 6:34 a.m. It's September 5th, 2025. The City of Ontario and every level of government in the state, including at every level of government in the city, is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. And this harassment is occurring right where the fake sun is rising, which is, again, evidence of this demon just maintaining activity, doing so with the rest of the demons who are stalking. Okay, this is P.O.C. It is 6:45 a.m. again. It's Friday, September 5th, 2025. This is another day of documenting the government that's engaged in stalking. The government is engaged in criminal surveillance, following me from place to place. And my podcast is documentation, long-term documentation that I've maintained since 2020 via podcast, and video and images since 2018 of the government engaging in what is criminal surveillance, stalking me from place to place. And this is the evidence of that. Okay, this is P.O.C. Okay, documentation at 415 North Euclid Avenue. This is documentation of the people of the state who are demons, who are monitoring while they're driving in what is a supernatural occurrence. And that is, again, within the pattern of conduct of criminal monitoring committed as a population. Okay, so first of all, the image is captured at 6:46 a.m. This is shared with the City of Ontario that's maintaining things that I've also documented here, such as aerial surveillance, engaging in things such as criminal summoning. And it's the same pattern of conduct at nightfall when they are stalking with light, which is demonic. So the demons that are driving what would be south on Euclid Avenue, first of all, they're driving, stalking me, which is evident through the fake sun that's in alignment to me. And as I documented at the Ontario Town Square yesterday, for example, the entity has the fake sun over me on the same Euclid Avenue at, there you go, I want you to see that. I'm taking pictures because you'll see the shadow of their vehicles on the opposite side of Euclid Avenue, reaching all the way over toward me. That's, again, stalking with light. I am the objective when you have that supernatural phenomenon. They're stalking with light in the same way at nightfall when they're driving across the street, for example, or the Ontario Police are parked across the street, and it's supposed to be, but I mean, you're supposed to be stupid enough to think that headlights are reaching that far, molesting your breast and blinding you in your face. Those are not headlights that would be blinding to us on the roads when you're driving. Your vehicle lights are not that powerful, and you're also not touching me from half a mile away. Those are demons that are stalking with light. This is the objective of stalking and monitoring in engineered light, okay? And it's also an unpersuasive illusion. It's also a sex offense, a perpetual sex offense. Every demon is always touching while they're stalking you for the criminal purpose of surveilling you, okay? So that's also why it's a sex offense, and it's relevant to the mens rea. The demons that are stalking, they're obsessed, and their obsession is also manifested in their ongoing objective of touching you with the means of monitoring you, and that's sexually violent as well. And this is relevant to that Jezebel spirit that's possessing all the demons who are, possessing all the people who are demon possessed, who are engaged in gang stalking. So what you will see in the images is, again, demonic. You're driving in and on the street north and south, and the shadow of your vehicle is reaching all the way across the street to where I'm seated on a bench. You will see engineered light on the passenger side of their cars, where the fake sun is on the driver's side of their cars. And this is also coexisting with what you've already seen on video, the engineered light that's dynamic moving across underneath the coverage structure beneath the storefront. These are all demons who are stalking me. That's called stalking with light. It's relevant to monitoring on communication devices, monitoring on the internet, and also monitoring a person who the objective is to touch all over them with light. This is a sex offense. It's a sex act committed by demons who are engaged in criminal monitoring. 7DBY916 is a sex offender co-conspiring murder. 8JSW670, these are sex offenders, and you're talking about thousands of people on a daily basis. It's millions that are engaging in a sex offense, and this is the prosecution of the government for that, okay? And this is what is built into the pattern of conduct. The entity is always engaged in monitoring. Recall the impossible light activity, even inside of Tracy Banks's apartment, even inside of my apartment, inside of the hotels. I'm always documenting impossible light. I'm always documenting opening the front door, my shadows appearing on the ceiling inside of the hotel, appearing in the depths of in darkness and shade. The objective is, first of all, it's satanic. It's you're witnessing monitoring. You're also witnessing what is demonic. These are demons, and all you're doing is observing the environment where it is entirely supernatural, and you're going to prosecute for what is a sex offense of gang stalking, a violent sex offense, while the entity is engaged in what is essentially a satanic sex act. Okay, this sex act is relevant to molesting you on an ongoing basis while they're all stalking you. 81494N3, which is bring security, who's engaging in a sex offense. Sharing in that criminal monitoring, which is sexually violent. Every company is engaged in this, the government's engaged in it, and so are people who are engaged in a sex act with children. You're going to analyze it the same way. You go to a group sex ritual and you bring your children to it. You engage in what is raping someone and you bring your children to that to participate in it, to watch it, to be there and engage in sexually violating that person with you. This is what the entity is doing while they're gang stalking with children, while they're engaging in gang stalking through the midst of their business, while they're gang stalking as a corrupt government, while they're gang stalking on the roads and the highways, and they're all molesting with impossible light. And these are demons that engage in sexually violent conduct, which is the purpose of monitoring you. And it's also absurdly psychotic. It's impossible light while you're driving the Omnitrans bus and the shadow of the bus is reaching to the opposite side of the street to touch me on the sidewalk. It's another method. It's another iteration of the same objective, which is criminal monitoring. Okay, doing so while stalking with light. You'll see also, again, what's shared with that is the entity that is, again, harassing me for being on a bench on the sidewalk outside, and then also engaging in that while the entity just maintains inexplicable noise in the environment. This is all demonic. And it's all, again, demons who are very highly obsessed and engaged in what is a conspiracy to murder somebody, and the person that they failed in secretly murdering, which is myself. Not only I've already accomplished a prosecution and proving it through a whole body of evidence, I'm showing you the absurdity of their whole system. And these are, again, this is a population of mentally ill people who present and want to be assumed as normal, everyday citizens, and they are nothing like that, okay? This is why you have a whole fake sun. This is why you have a whole population, thousands, which comes to be millions of people that are in the same environment, engaging in the same system, and they are all sick together, engaging in what is sexually perverted, what is, again, logically and scientifically problematic and impossible, and they do so under the assumption that nobody knows what they're doing. They're all fools, and they're all perverts, and they're all stalkers. These are the demon-possessed. Okay, this is the city of Ontario that's, again, engaging in this pattern of conduct where the fake sun is rising. Those are images taken. You're going to look at the engineered light that's on the passenger side of the car, and then you're looking at the fake sun that's on the driver's side of their car, the fake sun that's in perfect alignment with me at 415 North Euclid Avenue, and then you're also mindful of the bigger picture. Remember, I'm capturing on video this same conduct, and also they have the engineered light that moves across the building above my head. All of this is speaking to what are demons who are specifically targeting a person that is not a stranger to them. They're demons in doing so, and they're engaged in criminal activity together as a population. It's also the outward demonstration of mental illness by the entity that is demon possessed and engaged in criminal monitoring. That's P.O.C. All right, monitoring with the demons that are engaging in a sex offense of stalking with impossible light activity, harassing while I'm on the bench, is ARCO at 434 North Euclid Avenue, and the people of the state gang stalking as patrons at that venue. License 9PKL109, 8UCP652, 8YGR684, EG20Y92, and that's a paper plate. And there are a bunch of demons filling up their gas tank under a fake sun that's present all day long. This is the entity that engages in public corruption, all right, and the corrupt business of ARCO that's monitoring American citizens. License 6LVH396. They're all monitoring together while a demon is harassing. That's ongoing activity creation, while demons are also harassing by molesting you with impossible while they're driving on the street. The sex offenders cannot even drive past without touching. Okay, that's how obsessed they are. That's again evidence of obsession and mental illness. While they're engaging in the pattern of conduct of gang stalking, always touching, always following, addicted, stalking even in bathrooms. That's again sexual perversion and obsession. 9TIH520. And so is 506 North Euclid Avenue, stalking while the entity is maintaining rumbling noise in the back out of nowhere. They're not even stalking with a plane to make it seem as though that's plane activity. EE60V59, another homosexual woman stalking a woman. Psychopath, a sex offender molesting a woman. These are demons that are engaging in sexually perverted and mentally deranged behavior while they're gang stalking. This is a mentally ill population. And that mentally ill population is in law enforcement in the city. They're calling themselves firefighters. They're calling themselves an Ontario City Council. This is an entity that's engaging in that. This is P.O.C. Impossible light across this truck. 7E84558. While this demon of service champions drives up in the shade. 25743Y1. A psychopath that's gang stalking. Light manifesting in the shade while they pull up at the venue to maintain light activity. Again, stalking with light, another iteration of the same satanic and sexually perverted conduct. And then a psychopath gets out like they're a stranger while they're monitoring you. This is P.O.C. All right, license, and that's an African-American male, gang stalking. It's at 506 North Euclid Avenue, and it's 6:57 a.m. All right, stalking while I'm in the parking lot. So let me show you what this looks like. P.O.C. Southwest Airlines, P.O.C. There's no takeoff from Lemon Avenue, taking off from the airport miles away to fly over this venue. Again, flying again farther from what is Holt Boulevard, where Southwest Airlines is hovering right in front of the post office, and then making a U-turn. None of this, they're clearly stalking, and so is license 7MAM913, maintaining presence in the past so that somebody is there while the elements of monitoring is underway. Gang stalking. Doing so under the fake sun that's over me at what is 480. I'll get that address, but this is right here on Lemon Avenue, where the Ontario International Airport, that's Alan D. Wapner, is stalking me with commercial airline planes. He's the corrupt president of the airport authority. He's a gang stalking terrorist. He's a sex offender. And he's engaged in the conspiracy to commit murder, which is how domestic terrorism is executed in the United States. That's the criminal purpose for it. And there is already evidence regarding the criminal conspiracy that Alan D. Wapner is directly engaged in and still engaged in, while Southwest Airlines of the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking with the people of the state who are stalking in a morning parking lot under the fake sun. That whole pattern of conduct is underway. License 8MQB725. License 8UMH340. The entity has the fake sun over me on Lemon Avenue, and this is 420 Lemon Avenue. That's where I'm at, where the fake sun is at, and I'm capturing that. It's 7:04 a.m. So you'll see those images, Southwest Airlines gang stalking. Necessarily flying miles away from that. That's the analysis in that. You're necessarily flying miles away from the airport. That's at 2500 Airport Drive, Terminals 2 and 4, to be at the elevation that they're at, for you to be able to hear it. And you're doing so while I'm showing you that same pattern of conduct. Lemon Avenue is right here where the OVITT Family Community Library is. What's the sun doing over my head at 11 o'clock when I'm walking in? Because Southwest is stalking. 1465787, and so is City of Ontario, harassing me on the street because they are looking for a reason to monitor me, and they're also hostile when they can't find any reason to monitor me, especially when I'm getting up before sunrise, minding my business, and the entity wants to establish some sort of basis. Oh, this is a problem. This is a problem, and all they're doing is monitoring. The problem is Paul Leon's being removed from office for harassment by the entire City of Ontario, including all of his gang stalking employees of the municipality, and the entity is going to be federally prosecuted for harassment preceding murder while they're engaging in an ongoing program of psychological torture. That's the problem, okay? These demons that are engaging in criminal conduct, driving City of Ontario vehicles, wearing City of Ontario uniforms, okay? Acting in the name of the City of Ontario that's engaged in criminal activity, organized crime. 83379F3, 6YQL409, 8J59338. 7PCV 941. 6U66377. These demons are driving up and down D Street in Lemon. And if you'll recall, when I leave the library in the middle of the afternoon at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, what is over the top of my head that is in alignment to me right now at 7:06 a.m. The fake sun is over the top of my head at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the same street. Brightview is stalking. They are all stalking, and so is Southwest Airlines that's stalking over here where this fake sun is present. Identifying that is a matter of the pattern of conduct. 8GWA172, another homosexual woman stalking another woman, obsessed with another woman, sexually obsessed with another woman. That's what you also know about the demons that are gang stalking. It's a sex offense, and they are perverts obsessed with the genitalia of the one that they're monitoring as demons, even going to the extent of stalking them in bathrooms. And then those sex offenders are embarrassed, i.e. they start harassing you as you document them being sex offenders. Those are, again, psychopaths. Okay, my shadow's appearing in front of me. You'll see the fake sun in front of me, and my shadow is in front of me. That's engineer light, where, again, a demon is stalking. License plate 9TSR 408. Driving in that impossible light activity is how you're monitoring. 7KYV 375. This is understanding systematic gang stalking. It's currently 7:07 a.m.
Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes, and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. All right, so if you recall, this same third party targeting with the Ontario Police Department at the same venue, that was in the evening. And this is, again, planned, very foolish, planned conduct. They're all monitoring together. And you're tying together the location where the fake sun is present, the third party that's present, and the state actor, which is the Ontario Police that is present, and coming around to converse. And I'm already anticipating that the Ontario Police are going to do the exact same thing. And that's exactly what they did. This is video documentation of what is ongoing gang stalking. And this third party that is sitting next to me, stalking in the path under the fake sun, maintaining audible activity while the demons are pacing around, they're monitoring as well, setting up a stage. They're in the path under the fake sun. The entity is engaging in what is Brightview, maintaining the city of Ontario, and this is ongoing surveillance. The city of Ontario is engaged in criminal monitoring. All right, it is currently 9:52 a.m. This is the same predictable pattern. This is the terrorist organization that Mike LORENZ is going to be removed from law enforcement for criminal monitoring. The same demons are being removed from law enforcement that committed kidnapping as of 2025 while they're engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. This is stalking as a police officer in furtherance of the conspiracy to commit murder, and they're demons in doing so. It's 9:52 a.m. This is the documented pattern of stalking as a corrupt agency, and the ones that are engaged in kidnapping while they're stalking as an agency include C. Torres, L. Martinez, B. Hook, Nathan Morgan, C. Hazelwood. I've said it so many times you could recite the names with me, and you can see their names on X because they are going to federal prison, and they're going to federal prison for gang stalking as a corrupt agency, which is the embarrassing and demonic and sexually violent pattern of conduct committed by corrupt police departments that are exposed for criminal surveillance in California, and they do so while they murder and kidnap American citizens. This is criminal activity that is facilitated through corrupt law enforcement practices, and responsible discourse requires not discussing gang stalking police officers as engaged in law enforcement. They're engaged in criminal surveillance, and the two are not the same. Stalking is not enforcement. Public corruption is not what law enforcement entails. Okay, and so they're going to be disbanded, and this is federal prison for not only B. Hook, Nathan Morgan, L. Martinez, and C. Torres, but the entity kidnapping by what is also L. Edwards, A. Quesada, Alex Escobar, and C. Hazelwood and Owens. They're going to federal prison. Okay, those are the clowns that stand around a building around me at 3 in the morning, aiming light like demons, and then doing the same thing, flying in circles around me by helicopter. That's a ritual, and this is exposing satanic practices by corrupt police department that are engaged in what is the sex practices of gang stalking. Those are perverts and kidnappers who are going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. It's 9:54 a.m. You're going to look at the evidence tying to the same third party targeting me with that agency and furtherance of murder. This is relevant to impunity. When people are going to prison and they're standing in front of the judge, these are the details you're cognizant of. P.O.C.
T860, stalking with the Ontario Police. Maintaining surveillance in front of the 280 North Limit Apartments, 6APL 915, stalking with light activity in front of the OVITT Family Community Library, where the fake sun, remember yesterday I remained at the Ontario Town Square after 11 a.m. And where did that fake sun remain? After the Ontario Police engaged in stalking in helicopter, flying in circles over me for 60 minutes. It remained right over there at the Ontario Town Square where I just captured it on video. You'll see that when you look at the video, it's uploaded, you're listening on the podcast. You can view everything that I'm describing, everything that I'm narrating. And while I'm walking toward OVITT Family Community Library, which is behind, speaking of what is east of the Ontario Town Square, oh, there's no sun that's remaining over the Ontario Town Square. In fact, I'll turn around and show you the Ontario Town Square where the fake sun moves as I move, where that, again, gang stalkers of the male gender, targeting, if you want to get into race as well, because Satan doesn't have a gender and Satan doesn't have a race. Satan is a spirit, and Satan is using a body of people who are all being prosecuted and exposed as the demon-possessed population that are engaged in conspiring murder of innocent American citizens, as you put that in a legal framework. And that's why the fake sun is over 215 E.C. Street, where a bunch of demons are waiting to go in and engage in criminal surveillance inside of a City of Ontario facility, the OVITT Library, that likes to call itself a family community library, where they're engaged in sexual violence, they're engaged in criminal monitoring, the corporate invasion of privacy of an American citizen, 8LVZ228, another sex offender crossing path, and they do so while they're stalking with light, and that's the entity that's doing so, while they also know that their sexual violence, that their criminal monitoring, that their conspiracy to murder somebody is being documented and published on the internet, which is also relevant to the P.O.C. 75109E4, a demon. CL survey is the business, stalking with impossible light, showing you how it is indiscriminate with demon possession and indiscriminate with the criminal engagement in the pattern of conduct, showing you the truth of what is public corruption. All right, doing so while you're driving a business vehicle, or you're driving delivering pizza, or you're coming and delivering food in the Ontario Montclair School District vehicle, or you're coming and making a delivery by Staples to the Wells Fargo, driving by on this turn circle, all of them engage in the same conduct, stalking with impossible light. So is 8SNW648. And the truth of that, by the way, even while you're just listening to me describe it, is the fact that the fake sun is over the entrance, when yesterday it remained over the Ontario Town Square. That's how you know that I'm telling you the truth, because that's not the sun. But I have even more than that, because I have the demons flinging light on me, flinging light all over the buildings, all over the sidewalk, inside of my hotel room, inside of the library, et cetera, all over the place. Driving in and walking around while engineer light covers the ceiling of a particular venue. You've seen all of that, and that's also how you know that it's the truth. Those are demons that are gang stalking, and every business in the state of California is engaged in criminal monitoring. This is exposing what is the reality of surveillance, which is satanic, and the entity is also engaged in surveillance using actual devices, technology. All right, so this is both the inhumane and unconstitutional, and what is inhumane is also unconstitutional. The inhumane and unconstitutional maintenance of surveillance, which is an egregious sex offense. And what you're always paying attention to, these demons are obsessed with this engineer light. You're always paying attention to the light activity. They're stalking with light because they're engaged in P.O.C. It is 10 a.m. You'll see the fake sun right over the entrance as I'm entering. P.O.C.
This is impossible light activity. It's light that is flat on the ground. It's the shape of the windows. This on its face is an indicator of criminal surveillance. Remember, the entity keeps the fake sun over me at the Ontario Town Square, which this is the University of La Verne College of Law. This is the fake sun that's at the back of the library now, in between the University of La Verne College of Law and the law school. And gang stalking at the city hall. That's that building right over there. He is indeed. That entire government facility is engaged in what is a state facilitating venue. They're gang stalking. This is impossible light through what are the closed blinds as well. And you can see that fake sun. Very much specific, no longer at the entrance, okay? But yesterday at this time, it's remaining over me while the Ontario Police maintain helicopter activity from 8:59 to 9:59 a.m. And that fake sun remains right over me. And that is also where the entity is talking by commercial planes, okay? This is P.O.C. This is where the entity is, again, over Pollyon's office. You can't see that, but where the fake sun is, that's where the entity is targeting with commercial planes. That's Alan D. WAPNER's domestic terrorism. And I'm showing you the fake sun and ongoing terrorism by plane and helicopter, where Pollyon's office is in relevant position. This is where the fake sun is also setting outside of the doors of the same library after 6 p.m. This is the ASIN entity and the plain obvious of public corruption and the sex offensive monitoring vaginas, okay, sex offenders that are engaged in monitoring. This is not sunlight. And the sun rapidly moves to be at the back of the library when it remains at the Ontario Town Square yesterday until after 11 a.m. And then this fake sun is at the entrance. And as I enter at 10 o'clock, it's at the back portion. This is the entity that is stalking me specifically with the fake sun. It is very much specific and detailed who the entity is stalking by helicopter, even for an hour on podcast and on video. That agency, the Ontario Police, is being disbanded. The people that are going to federal prison for kidnapping, because this is the same light source where Starbucks is stalking me, where Economy Inn is stalking me, where Woodside Senior Apartments as the establishment is shown to be engaged in as a facilitating venue, federal group stalking and monitoring and furtherance of murder, psychological torture. That's why the fake sun is over all of those aforesaid venues, not private properties, by the way. This is P.O.C. It's 10:10 a.m. And this is engineer light, which is not the product of that fake sun. This is showing you the demonic system. And these are demons that are engaging in what is surveillance that's happening in the United States. This is happening under Gavin Newsom's watch. P.O.C. There's the demons. I want you to see them stalking. They want you to see it, and it's my pleasure, it's my duty, because this is what I've been establishing by evidence years ago. They committed kidnappings to obstruct justice, which is exactly why Mike LORENZ and every other demon gang stalking under the fake sun as they incriminate their partners that are under the same fake sun at 1 o'clock, at 4 o'clock, at 6 o'clock. They're going to prison, okay? This is the entity that's stalking as I walk outside of the front entrance while they're monitoring under the fake sun that's no longer over the betwixt the College of Laverne, University of Law, the Paul Leon, who was also monitoring this evidence, and the entity that surrounds Ontario Police Crossing Path, also in helicopter. That's the entity that's monitoring this evidence, and that's the entity that committed kidnappings. You're going to federal prison. L. Edwards, Alex Escobar, A. Quesada, C. Hazelwood, Owens, B. Hook, Nathan Morgan, C. Torres, and L. Martinez. You're all going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:12 a.m. and while the Ontario Police go out of their way to show the world that they are enemies of the United States, that they are domestic enemies that need to be disbanded as a matter of national security purposes and for the protection of the entity that's gang stalking, engaging in criminal monitoring, conspiracy to murder with them. This is criminal activity that she thinks you don't know about. And that's the purpose of the Ontario Police gang stalking in that same manner with her. This is exposing public corruption. They're keeping my vagina under surveillance in that manner as well. Sex offenders are being disbanded. They're currently calling themselves the Ontario Police. They are going to be removed and targeted as domestic terrorist enemies of the United States. This is P.O.C.
8 VXH 655 and the other sex offender, license 9 MZK 741. They are gang stalking with the sex offender Wells Fargo at 240 North Euclid Avenue. Each and every co-conspirator to murder, these are those who are stalking with the City of Ontario at the same address where the fake sun was over this venue this morning. That's speaking to all of this entity and all of those aforesaid license plates and the venue Wells Fargo. We're monitoring my vagina inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. This is Wells Fargo that's going to be prosecuted as a sex offender, a domestic terrorist. And these sex offenders license 9TZ183, gang stalking as well. Doing so while they are driving a black Camry and doing so while engineer light swipes across the building, which is how the demon-possessed are engaged in monitoring. The stalking with light behavior is relevant to what is exposing mental illness that is shared by a gang-stalking, demon-possessed population engaging in what is massive public corruption as criminal surveillance is unveiled in the United States of America. And not only that, the entities engaging in this while you're going to prosecute for sexual violence the deep pockets of Wells Fargo for, again, incalculable and sexually inflicted harms relevant relevant to this establishment gang stalking, this establishment facilitating gang stalking, this establishment engaging in what is sexual violence with impunity, both by its employees and its gang stalking patrons. The establishment itself is also engaged in gang stalking, as you understand that term of art, and that's because the fake sun is still over me at the Wells Fargo. And that's the malicious pattern of conduct being made within a legal framework in order to prosecute the malicious and satanic system of criminal monitoring. Where the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking in commercial flight, and you will see the picture of the fake sun over me at the same 224 North Euclid Avenue, the Ontario Town Square, where the African-American male with the unfortunate hair is gang stalking me with the Ontario police at 9:51 in the morning. This is where I'm documenting the fake sun during the 7 a.m. hour, and this is where the fake sun is still present, where you've seen all the gang stalkers who are engaged in sacrificing American citizens, criminally surveilling them and keeping them under surveillance, psychologically torturing them before committing murder as an entity that routinely sacrifices American citizens and calls it, by the way, plane crashes, accidents. All right, this is the Ontario Town Square that has the fake sun over me as I exit the OVITT Family Community Library. And this is the same address where, again, the fake sun, not the natural environment. And under these circumstances, your understanding with regard to nature and science, and anybody working for NASA would be forced to agree with my evidence, which is scientifically relevant, that the sun would not be at the same address like it is at the Ontario Town Square / Wells Fargo / OVITT Family Community Library / State Facilitating Venue, where a domestic terrorist shall be plucked out of office. This is Paul Leon, okay? While at 303 East B Street, he is in relevant position to where I'm located, keeping my vagina under surveillance all day long. And that's the truth that you need to know about this sex offender that would like to be referred to as a mayor. Okay, this is where the entity is engaging in criminal monitoring and doing so under a fake sun in the same address over me in alignment to me as I move. It's not just at the Ontario Town Square. Remember, it's in alignment. You'll see the picture. I walk outside of the front door. That fake sun is along what is the parking garage. As I move to the Ontario Town Square, you'll see that fake sun that is moving as I move inside of the venue. And that's why I go to the same location. So you're seeing the vantage point, the same big clock at the Ontario Town Square. All I'm doing is looking in the direction west. That is the big clock behind me, and the fake sun is I'm looking at the same scene, a non-moving sun that was never in Florida, speaking to surveillance underway in the state of Florida, okay? It is currently 6:12 p.m. Those are sex offenders sharing in psychological torture, which is, again, the sexually gratifying pleasure of psychopaths and serial killers and pedophiles that are gang stalking. They're referred to as the people of the state. I'm going to prosecute the government that's engaging in what is a federal RICO case as well. Businesses, corrupt businesses like Wells Fargo, keeping American citizens under surveillance and making money while doing it. All right, it's currently 6:12 p.m. This is P.O.C. License 8PHS 335 7W0C 460 7MCA 464 LPRTC 0 9MZK 741. Some of these license plates I did refer to earlier. I'm just making sure I recite all of the license plates that are documented via images uploaded to the Google Drive. These are sex offenders engaged in the perpetual sex offense, the incessant molestation, the violation of the person while the entity is engaged in criminal surveillance and molesting me with impossible light activity while they are stalking, being present in the path. And this is stalking by the government that's maintaining criminal surveillance and doing so through every business, through every person around me, and I document them by license plate as well. While I'm subject to that sex offense, the government maintains no warrant and no probable cause, nor any legitimate government interest to engage in criminal surveillance, nor the satanic means of criminal monitoring, which is both inhumane and unconstitutional. Therefore, this is the identification of a sex offender who is also criminally monitoring. This is stalking, doing so vicariously on behalf of the government. License 7VVG243. So I am indeed identifying those who you will always also see as I give you a What are illustrations regarding what are sex offenders? A gang stalker, a demon-possessed person that is engaged in criminal monitoring, the public entity, the businesses that are engaged in gang stalking is the identification of sex offenders. Violent, egregiously violent sex offenders. Okay, so these are sex offenders that I am identifying by license plate. And it includes license plate sorry, 6579. Hold on one second. 65797C3. That's again 65797C3. License 9URM619, 9CVY798, 7MYM280, 93643V1, 8AQY723, 53831H3, 7N40960, 7ZLX779, 7XIY347, 8XVU131, 9TJH462, 9KKT565, 9MHW956, 9DKD909, 6JEX163, 21054G4, 8TJT264, 7DXG120, 9UYG877, 9FRY858, 8YAM862, 9RCG857, 9GGU913, 73020Z2, 33628S2, 9NSH126, PINAL1, 7YHZ996, 8GXU557, 8SGX440, 9EKX024, All right, this is identification of violent sex offenders who are not only engaged in that sex offense, which is inherent to gang stalking. The entity is obsessed with what is engineered light. As you pay attention to the pattern of conduct, you will notice this pattern, which is also the identification of that which is demonic, identifying those who are demon-possessed in that environment, targeting myself as sex offenders. This is legally analyzed as a massive sex act that is committed by the demon-possessed who are stalking one person together. And they're engaging in a sex act while they are perpetually molesting, while obsessively stalking, following, pursuing into every location at all times. The entity also maintains engineered light inside of every location, every venue, The entity is doing so while they are stalking and engaging in the criminal purpose of monitoring. That is a sex offense. It's a totally illegitimate purpose, and it's also supernatural. It's demonic on top of that. While the entity is engaging in the sex offense of gang stalking with the molestation with impossible light, the entity is also doing so as a population under the fake sun. That's relevant to the sex offense. While I am being battered in what is engineered light, keeping a fake sun over me is an inhumane means of harm to my person by the government that's engaged in surveillance. Another angle of analysis is the entities engaging in what is this sex offense, which is relevant to psychological torture while engaging in that perpetual violation of the person with light that's not even naturally occurring because you are obsessively stalking while engaging in criminal surveillance as a corrupt government and a corrupt community, city, county, state, population. That is an unprecedented basis of a sex offense. And the entity is indeed touching. And you shall not touch with your genitalia. You shall not touch with your hands, your person. You shall not touch with any extension of your person. And you shall not touch with engineered light for the criminal purposes of monitoring. And it shall be appreciated under federal law. Okay, it is 11:05. Excuse me. This is documentation from last night. So this is documentation regarding September 5th, 2025, making sure that I am reciting the license plates that are documented regarding the population stalking me. That's the government following me around from place to place, maintaining that pattern of conduct. The government is inherently engaged in. When you're documenting the people of the state, you are documenting the government. When you're documenting the government directly, meaning Ontario Fire Department, you're documenting the people of the state who are gang stalking vicariously. The government's not doing it by itself. Okay, this is P.O.C.